What's up, guys? Welcome back to yet another episode of NBA Super Teams, volume number 4. And before we get to everything, let me just go over the rosters because I know this is a little foreign to you. My team are the Spurs, Chris Paul, DeMar DeRozan, Kawhi Leonard, Tim Duncan, and Dikembe Mutombo versus this other randomly drafted team. Rule be free, James Harden, Tobias Harris, Chris Webber, and DeMarcus Cousins. As you can clearly tell, this is a big man game. A lot of girth in the paint as you see the Thunder. This was an interesting game for me personally. If you guys have been watching my channel at all, if you don't know who I am, then I will tell you right now, I am a huge Tim Duncan fan. And yesterday, 7/21/2016, was Tim Duncan Day. And they celebrated the career of Tim Duncan. And as a result, the day after, I went ahead and I posted this video. And it has to do with Tim Duncan, obviously. So here's Tim Duncan, and I made it a little special because the Oklahoma City Thunder was the last place that Tim Duncan ever played basketball. And it's crazy because that's just how it ended. And man, he retired in the middle of the season, or the middle of the off season, completely out of random. As you see, James Harden back on the Thunder. Before they traded him away to the Houston Rockets because they didn't think that James Harden was a max contract player. And although I'm not the biggest James Harden supporter, I do have respect for the man's offensive game. It's pretty ridiculous, but his defensive game is yet to be determined, I guess you could say. Yeah, his defense kind of sucks, but you know, that's what it is. Offensively, though, the guy's a beast. So anyway, as I mentioned in this game, this is all about Tim Duncan. This is all about TD. This is all about the greatest power forward of all time, even though he played 70% of his minutes at center, which you won't really hear about a lot. But yeah, greatest power forward of all time no matter what. As you see, we're passing the ball off to DeMar DeRozan. Yes, that's Reggie Jackson. I did draft him as well on this team. Reggie Jackson, a beautiful and one layup. Let's check out this replay. World Be Free is very, very mad. This was clearly a foul over here on World Be Free. A lot of contact, and this beautiful and one layup by Reggie Jackson. Very underrated player for the Detroit Pistons. But yeah, the Tim Duncan that I got in this version of my draft is not the Tim Duncan that is currently playing. This is the 21-year-old Tim Duncan. So he is a 95 overall rated, and just like the game, you know, if you play 2K16, you'll know that they have the San Antonio Spurs of old with David Robinson and Avery Bradley, and that's the Tim Duncan I got on this team. And he was the first overall draft pick, and I also got Kawhi Leonard on this team, and I also got Manu Ginobili on this team. So a pretty Spurs-heavy team with a lot of respect for the 5-time champion NBA Spurs, one of my favorite teams ever. This is just a beautiful, it's just beautiful alley-oop from Reggie Jackson to DeMar DeRozan. Can you imagine a team with Reggie Jackson and DeMar DeRozan on it? I mean, that would be a pretty explosive team if you ask me. Another pass to the legendary TD Tim Duncan with the bronze posterizer medal, which is very appropriate if you ask me for his career. Yeah, he had a few posters here and there, but mostly they were very low-key posterizers. Anyway, the score is 37-33, and we are currently leading James Harden with a deep three. There is ice in that man's veins because Tim Duncan is an absolute monster beast, and James Harden is an absolute monster beast on offense. Can't stop him, won't stop him. 41-39 is the score. Another pick and roll to Tim Duncan. This time he shockingly misses it. I know, don't tell me he missed it. But over here, this is a beautiful block, getting back on defense, trying to do what we do, but they end up picking up the rebound and putting it right back in. Rick Fox, former LA Laker. And you see, right over here, this is what happens when you get a guy like Tim Duncan on your team. He's so good in the paint that what happens is you see right over here, automatic double teams 90% of the time. And what does that do? That leaves open people. But even with a double team, Tim Duncan can still get the ball in the basket, and that's what you need. And passing it off to Chris Paul. By the way, yes, Chris Paul is also on this team. The second round draft pick for me was Chris Paul. As you see, we are dominating the Thunder, and to be honest, it's hard not to dominate any team, again, when you have a guy like Tim Duncan. A lot of people forget how good Tim Duncan was in his career. I mean, obviously, you know, one of the greatest, but recently, as Chris Webber just does a nice little two-handed flush, but recently, he's not really been playing, Tim Duncan with a beautiful block, but recently he hasn't been playing as good before he retired, because obviously he's like 39 or something ridiculous like that. I mean, to be 39 years old and play a professional basketball league is pretty ridiculous, but we forget how good the guy was. I mean, obviously the best power forward ever, but you look at the numbers of this man's career and you will be staggered. Like, it's ridiculous to see how good Tim Duncan was at the height of his career. I'm a Brooklyn Net fan. That is my favorite team. And back when they faced the San Antonio Spurs in the finals, Tim Duncan averaged, it was pretty crazy numbers. As you see over here, quick pause, because this is a beautiful pass. Another underrated skill of Tim Duncan. His passing was really, really, really special. And as you saw right over there, and this is a beautiful block by DeMar DeRozan. But yes, in the finals against the New Jersey Nets, Tim Duncan averaged somewhere around 24 points and 17 rebounds and like 4 blocks. It was something crazy, something unheard of. And a lot of people don't give him enough credit because, you know, he's a quiet guy and he goes about his business. But you get Tim Duncan on the floor and your game changes significantly. But as we get back to the game, it's only a 3-point game against these two super teams that are created in this draft, passing it off to Ryan Anderson. And while Ryan Anderson isn't really known for being a super player on a super team, he can definitely hit threes at a super rate. Yeah, I don't know, that was pretty lame, I will say, but this is a beautiful pass, but it ends up getting picked off by Manu Ginobili trying to get that shot, but he misses it. 73-67 is the score. Yes, Manu's also on this team, but when you have super teams and superstars, you know, Manu kind of gets left in the dust just a little bit, even though he is a Hall of Famer 5-time champion, or a 4-time champion, actually. But yes, 73-69 is the score. 8 minutes and 28 seconds left to go in the whole game. We are in the fourth quarter, passing it off to Ryan Anderson. And like I said, Ryan Anderson, definitely the sixth man of this team. Him and Manu, it's a nice little six-man combination. World B. Free is guarding him. This is no chance. We pass it off to Kenneth Faried, who ends up getting the and one over DeMarcus Cousins. You gotta love stuff like that. It's still a pretty close game. Again, Hall of Fame difficulty, superstar teams. We got DeMarcus Cousins, we got Chris Webber, we got James Harden. Is pretty tough teams, a pretty tough matchup, but we are still winning because our team is pretty good defensively. This is a mismatch, ladies and gentlemen. James Harden, not great at defense, and Kenneth Faried is just a beast. He's going to get the rebound, and he's going to dunk over the entire world. That is how you play post-up offense in the NBA. When you get mismatches like that, you got to take advantage. World B. Free with a beautiful pass to James Harden in the paint for the and one. 83-74 is the score. Here's another mismatch, ladies and gentlemen. We already know what's going to happen. Tim Duncan is going to dominate. He's going to miss the first shot. He's going to get his offensive rebound. He's going to put it back in the paint. This is a no contest, basically, guys. I mean, another beautiful block. This has just been a block fest. Passing it off to Reggie Jackson, looking for someone wide open. Dikembe Mutombo, who we barely even talked about in this game. Look at the score blowing up and inflating. Again, like I mentioned, while these are super teams, it's just hard to counteract the defense of a Chris Paul, Dikembe Mutombo, and Tim Duncan, of all people. But have I mentioned Chris Paul, one of the greatest point guards of all time? Let's check out this slow replay. This nice, beautiful little replay over here. A nice little 1-2 layup punch. And that's what you gotta love. The game ends without a hitch. I try to bring the most competitive games to you guys, but being it a day after Tim Duncan Day, and considering that I'm a huge Tim Duncan fan, I thought I'd do this as a show of respect. And 27 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. And Tim Duncan dominated as he usually does, leaving the Oklahoma City court just like he did in real life. 39 points, by the way. From James Harden. James Harden did not want to lose this game, ladies and gentlemen. He did not want to lose this game. He gave it his all. Props to him. But regardless, the San Antonio Spurs came out with the W. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you for watching as always. Please leave a like before you leave. Subscribe if you haven't. And there will be a lot of new stuff. Essentially a lot of Milwaukee Bucks, which I've kind of been dragging back on, but yes, they will be coming, no doubt. We still have to finish the season before 2K17 comes out and Madden comes out. A lot of stuff to come in the future for this channel. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. A little tribute to the San Antonio Spurs, one of my favorite teams ever and one of my favorite players ever in Tim Duncan. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.